Hello there, welcome to Inquiring Minds. My name is Doug and I'm back with another Pen Resurrection Sunday video. Riding on the coattails of last week's successful restoration of a very oxidized black hard rubber fountain pen, this 1920s Parker DQ Raven, I decided to finally tackle the restoration of a black hard rubber pen from the 1920s that was in even a rougher shape. This 1920s, 1917 I think, Conway Stewart Universal number 362 lever filler. The pen is at least 103 years old and it was donated to Inquiring Minds by an eBay seller from whom I purchased a Parker Vacuumatic. I think he was interested to see if I could make something of it. I had avoided the pen for at least 6 months. Now, with my courage fortified by the success of the Parker Raven, I went at the old pen with some vigor. The pen's black chased hard rubber, what Conway Stewart called vulcanite, the British term for ebonite, had seriously deteriorated from exposure. It had turned a very light brown color. The only way to restore black hard rubber is to remove the surface until you get down to the material that hasn't oxidized, that's black. Of course, by removing the surface, you'll remove the chasing and the imprints. The other way is to paint a new black surface on the top, again obscuring the chasing and the imprints. So I compromised, and instead of going full back in black, like on the DQ Raven, I went to what I'll call fade to black. No, Mr. Cameraman. Bring me back, bring me back. Sheesh. You can't get good help these days. The pen fades from brown to black, and it still has the chasing and the imprints intact. The nib is a spectacular example of a very early 20th century flexible gold nib that writes like melted butter.
Look at those legs. They're like butter. Like two sticks of butter lashed together in a rough-hewn manner. And that cleavage, I tell you, it's like 2 tubs of beautiful whipped butter, unsalted, I might add.
So join me as I show you how I restored this 103-year-old fountain pen to working order right now. So I had such excellent success polishing up the ebonite Parker DQ that I decided to go ahead and try this pen. And it looks like a brown pen. Knowing what I know now about ebonite and how it ages, this pen is actually black. So I thought, well, let's see if I can do the same techniques that I used on the DQ with this. This is probably from the 1920s. It's a black hard rubber or black chased hard rubber. There used to be a clip here, and there's a little bit of a break right there where the clip fell out or was torn off or whatever. It has a couple of gold bands, and of course it has an imprint, and the imprint says Universal number 362 lever pen Conway Stewart. So that 362 is a model name. I haven't had much luck on the internet with finding any information about this model, and it says made in England underneath as well. You can see how nice and shiny black the ebonite is under the cap. So that's what the entire pen should look like. And there is a nib here that says 14K inside a shield. The section actually came out pretty easily. I didn't apply any heat or anything, just came out. And there's remnants of a sack right there and cruddy on the inside, but the lever does work. There, you can see it working right there. So I'm going to try to clean this up. I'm going to try to knock that feed out of there, clean that section up, polish up the nib and the feed. But I decided, well, before I try any of that, let's dip test this pen, because this looks like a fairly flexible gold nib. We get some paper here. And we dip the nib and say this is a 1920s Conway Stewart number 362. And this is just like a wet noodle. Very, very flexible gold nib. Boy, they don't make them like this anymore, folks. Very smooth with a lot of feedback and very, very wet. Very wet indeed. So we'll see what we can do about polishing this pen up. Seem to be making some progress. And we're definitely making some progress here. It's getting closer to black. But I'll be happy when all that goes as black as that. I'll try to tap this feed out of this section. And there it is. And the feed. So now I've got it looking pretty good, actually. I didn't want to go too far in polishing it because I'm starting to lose that chasing on there. I don't want to do that. But it's fairly black through the body, and it sort of fades to brown at the ends. Got the end finial looking very black. The top finial is black in the center and fades to brown. Not too bad. So it certainly is not as black as the section is, but it's a 100-year-old pen. The more I polish into that gold, the more the gold's going to fade. So I think I'm done with polishing this up. I think I'm happy with the way it looks. And I've polished up the feed, bright and shiny, as well as a nib, which is bright and shiny. And we're going to put that nib back in the section again. Line it up just like that. Right into that section without any difficulty. Just gonna check the cap clearance to make sure I've got it in there far enough. Yep, looks good. So now we can put this sack on that section. I've already cut my sack to size. Add a little shellac, just the nipple part of the section. Spread that sack, fit it up underneath. Slight turn, some shellac to that seam, and leave it to dry. So the shellac is dried, and we're going to put this back into the pen. We'll dredge this sack in a little bit of talc so it doesn't bind. And we put the section back in the pen. Now I could shellac that down, but I'm going to make sure it all works first before I commit myself. And it's pretty snug in there, so it's not going to roll around. So the next thing we need to do is to fill the pen, make sure it works. Yeah, lots of bubbles. That's good. Do it a couple of times until I hear no more bubbles. And here's the pen restored. I've done quite a bit of research on this pen, and I can't find the model number 362 mentioned anywhere. I found a web page with a wealth of information on everything Conway Stewart by the late Jonathan Donahue. Back in 2006, Jonathan put together a website catalog of every Conway Stewart fountain pen on which he could find any information. It was his retirement hobby. From a careful examination of his pages, I've narrowed this particular Conway Stewart, Universal number 362, down to being a pre-1920 and post-1917 fountain pen, possibly made in the USA, despite the imprint that says made in England. The Model 362 isn't in Jonathan's extensive catalog as existing. He says the numbering system is no system at all, and certainly not chronological. For example, the most popular and one of the most famous Conway Stewart fountain pens was the Model 58, which was made from 1949 to 1963. And Conway Stewart did not make their own pen nibs until after 1920, and many of their pre-1920 pens were made for them with their imprints in the United States. This nib has a shield and 14K with no Conway Stewart engravings. Plus this straight lever, according to Jonathan, is almost exclusively American-made. So I'm dating this pen from 1917 to 1920 and made in the United States for Conway Stewart. Overall, the pen is made of black chased hard rubber or vulcanite and is a lever filler and once had a clip. It has a straight domed cap with one engraved line towards the end. The barrel is straight with two wide gold-filled bands and a gold-plated box lever and a slight taper on the end past the second band. The imprint says Universal in quotes, number 362, lever pen, Conway Stewart, London, made in England. The cap unscrews with 1 1/4 revolutions to reveal a long tapering vulcanite section with a smooth flare towards the number 4 size 14 karat gold flexible nib and black vulcanite notched feed. I suppose in 1917 the word universal was a description of how you could use this pen anywhere. Before these lever-filled pens, they used to call self-filling. If you were going to write with ink, you were tied to a desk with an inkwell and a dip pen, or you had to write with a pencil. With a pen that carried its own ink supply around with you, you were free to write universally. Let's take a closer look at this nib. It has a heart-shaped breather hole, and there's that shield, and inside that shield is 14K. The cap posts on top of the tapered part of the bottom finial, and because the cap weighs next to nothing, it doesn't unbalance the pen at all. Now let's look at some size comparisons. And here is the Conway Stewart Universal 362 Vulcanite lever filler with a 1924 Parker DQ Raven Ebonite lever filler, a 1934 Parker Vacuumatic Lockdown filler, a 1943 Esterbrook H celluloid lever filler, and a Lamy Safari for scale. Now let's look at them posted. And here they are posted. You can see these vintage pens are extremely long when they're posted, but they're so light that that extra length doesn't unbalance the pens at all. Now let's look at them unposted. And here they are unposted. Unposted, they're all a pretty good length, except for the Esterbrook, which might be a bit short. Now let's look at some measurements, and I'll be back with a writing sample. And we're back with the writing portion of the review. This is Clairefontaine 90 GSM paper, and this is a 1917 Conway Stewart number 362, and it has a 14 karat gold flexible nib. Let's check the wetness. Well, this pen is a gusher, there's no question. And the nib is buttery smooth. I did nothing to this nib other than just check its alignment. And it is a vintage flex pen. I'm not putting any irregular pressure on this pen. And look at the line variation. There I'm adding a little bit of pressure. You can see the line variation. It's amazing. And the ink is Waterman's Serenity Blue. And the line this nib makes goes everywhere from extremely fine, that's a 0.2 millimeters, and vertically it runs to about 0.5, I'll say 0.4 millimeters. But when you flex it even a little bit, it gets up to 0.8 millimeters. So it goes from a Western extra fine to a broad, or a Japanese extra fine to double, triple off the scale broad. And for our quote: And some reverse writing. Well, is it possible? It writes even smoother in reverse. It's drier and thinner, but wow. And some quick writing. No issues whatsoever. I had some issues with the feed when I was doing the restoration, but I soaked the nib and section in some distilled water with a drop of Dawn dish soap, and then flushed it out with clear water and let it dry, and then refilled the pen, and it's not had any issues whatsoever. So what are my thoughts on this resurrection? Well, knowing when to stop is an essential part of any art. Knowing whether to start at all is a serious question about restoring a pen as ancient as this one. The fact that this pen was donated to me made the decision a little easier to at least attempt to resurrect this pen. I could have buffed this vulcanite for a lot longer and gotten the vulcanite deeper black, especially at the ends here. Or I could have used my pen potion number 9 on it. I haven't tried that on a pen yet, but in both cases I would have at least lost the delicate chasing on the cap and probably on the barrel as well. So I decided to stop with the vulcanite almost black but fading to brown at the ends. It's very shiny and the nib is just off the planet amazing. It holds ink, writes well, and isn't unattractive. I suppose that's all we could ask of any fountain pen, let alone one that's probably been dead for at least 80 years. And this particular model of Conway Stewart is so obscure, it makes it difficult to put a value on it. So if anyone out there has any insight into this pen, and whether it's rare or just another cheap old pen, I'd be interested to hear from you. Leave a comment below if you have any information on the Conway Stewart number 362 lever filler. Thanks so much. And there you have it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell to get instant notifications whenever a new video is posted. And you can join as a member of my channel for only 99 cents a month, and I guarantee I'll answer your comments in the comment section, and you'll get cool emojis, badges, and sneak peek unboxing videos as well. And that just leaves it for me to say thank you for watching, and that's all she wrote.
I made this.